Overstock earnings just dropped and they smashed it once again as predicted. And the market is only just starting to realize there's still time to get in, and here's why. But before I get into today's video, my name is Sam and I talk all things stocks. And today I've got a banging video for you to talk about Overstock, which is one of my favorite stocks. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to check out my Patreon account to gain exclusive access to all the stocks I'm buying and selling. The link is in the description, so make sure to check it out. Overstock's earnings were absolutely fantastic. It's up over 21% on the day, taking the stock price closer to $37. And the EPS was expected to be 0.09 negative, and they ended up reporting only minus 0.02%, which was a 77% on the upside. Then we also had the revenue beat, which was expected to come in at around $409 million, and they ended up reporting $422 million, which was a 3% beat. And this wasn't the only surprise in Overstock's earnings, because there is much more to get into. So the big news that everyone was speaking about was the recent acquisition of Bed Bath & Beyond, which Overstock purchased for around $21.5 million. And the synergies between these two businesses was going to be massive. And that's why the anticipation of Q2, the financial results for 2023, is so big for Overstock. So getting into the actual investor presentation right now, we can see that they obviously beat their revenue targets of 409 million with their expected delivered targets of 422 million. Their gross margin was solid at 22.4%, which was what they were guiding into the end of 2023, which is a good sign considering they're going to be acquiring and pushing out the boat further in terms of expanding that marketing expense to drive that volume in terms of revenue growth. Their tech and revenue was 11.7%, which came in slightly better than performed in Q2 22. But the important part was the adjusted EBITDA margin of around 2%. So they were profitable of around $8 million, which was very important. Again, the diluted EPS came in strong at 0.02 when we were expecting a negative 0.09, which was great. And then we got a huge cash position still of 342.9 million. And this is minus the acquisition of Bed Bath & Beyond, which ate into about $21.5 million, as mentioned, into that cash position. So we've still got a huge balance sheet, which is a great sign for this company, because we can use that to expand our marketing approach in order to gain that market share against Wayfair, against Etsy, against Target and Lowe's, to drive the growth of this business, which has changed from a value stock to now a growth stock. So looking further down, we can see the revenue. Obviously, year over year isn't great, down 20%, but the driver is going to be Bed Bath & Beyond. In the next few quarters, we're going to see the synergies come in. And on the earnings call, Jonathan Johnson mentioned that there's going to be a re-acceleration of growth. And they're already starting to see this with the Canada expansion, which only opened about a month ago on the website. And they're already seeing 7 times the volume in traffic growth. And that will only drive revenue. And we've not even got the website for America live yet. So that will come in at the start of August, hopefully. And we should hopefully see further improvement on numbers, guides up from analysts. And this is going to be great for the stock price of Overstock. And that's something that is missing massively, because most analysts aren't quite aware of just how much revenue we can actually drive. But I think they're going to be very shocked in Q3. And that's when I'm expecting a big outperformance of Overstock particularly. Currently, Overstock, as it sounds like a liquidator stock. And most businesses and vendors don't want to be tied with a name like Overstock. So acquiring that name is going to be very interesting, not only for the consumers, but also for the vendors, as mentioned. And I think we're going to see more SKUs come online. We're going to see more sales. And again, once again, this is all going to lift up Overstock to a better position than it was the last year and also the previous years, where times have been great back in the pandemic stage, but they've obviously tailed off. And the consumer is still slowing, but we have an out with Bed Bath & Beyond to drive that revenue, while all other competition are going to struggle from this slowdown in consumer spending. Now, moving further down to the gross margins, they've been pretty consistent, and on the earnings call, they advised that they still expect 22%, roughly around that range, is going to be likely. They said in the next few quarters, We may see a slight below it, but that's just because they're expanding that marketing expense to drive the additional revenue and run rate in terms of customer growth and traffic. So this could be partially offset by different operation activities, but they're going to continue improving the operational efficiencies to drive the gross margins higher. Now, looking further down, again, the GA and tech expense has remained fairly small. So I'm not going to run too much on this. But again, it's kind of ranged from around the 10 to 11% range. And this is most likely going to be consistent, as they mentioned on the call as well. So adjusted EBITDA. Now, this is one of the most important parts because year over year, there was a big decline from around $13 million. But again, this will slowly come in because we're going from a headwind where the consumer was slowing with the acquisition that's going to turn into a tailwind for Overstock. And we're going to see great growth from this. And I'm expecting that adjusted EBITDA number to be much higher next quarter and also in the following quarters. I think we could deliver strong EPS performance throughout the next few months, quarters, and then into next year as well. I think this is going to be a good driver. Now, the active customer, because the different type of vendors that we've added, there's also different SKUs that have been added, and these range in different price quality and also what the obviously amount of order frequency that they're running. So this is going to vary as we get used to the different SKUs that have been added. So this will eventually tail off. So these numbers aren't quite as important as they probably were last year because of the additional SKUs that we've added just from adding the Bed Bath & Beyond name. Now, moving on to where Overstock can actually drive that revenue, and they're saying that the actual Bed Bath & Beyond integration timeline is on track already. So in phase one was the July. They launched in Canada within around 3 days, which is impressive from the deal actually closing. And then they're now preparing for the launch in the US, which is what they've been doing all month. They've been onboarding new partners in which they told us that they've added over 600,000 new SKUs, which only just offers more variety to the actual consumer themselves, which can potentially drive that share growth price. And because they have that asset-light business model, it's not impacting inventory levels, which is extremely important because Jonathan Johnson said the largest problem with Overstock was one, the name, but with Bed Bath & Beyond, it was the inventory that they owned. So being able to combine both of the good parts while removing the bad parts is where Overstock can just integrate perfectly with their asset-light business model with the best name of Bed Bath & Beyond. Combine it together and you've got a killer retail stock. So we'll wait and see how this actually translates in the coming few months and quarters, but I think there could be some great potential of this. Now, phase two was into August and September, which they're going to launch in the US. As we know, they're going to rebrand into Bed Bath & Beyond. And the other thing which is quite interesting is that they may change the ticker. I don't know if it will be Bed Bath & Beyond, but I think a good alternative could be Home, which would be a great symbol to have as it ties everything together with what Overstock are looking for. Again, they're executing further on new assortments. And then we've also got Labor Day to look forward to, which is a highly promotional event. And it's going to be a great place to capture new market share and new customers during that time. Now, into phase three, and Q4 2023 and beyond, they're going to continue to build out the assortment range and then transition into that one brand into the Bed Bath & Beyond name, as we know. And then they're also saying they're going to evaluate opportunities for future growth. And I think that's very interesting because there's companies like Wayfair which are in deep trouble with the amount of debt they hold on their balance sheet. And potentially, if they need to restructure, we're in a fantastic position with that $343 million in cash to potentially operate their customer list once they go bankrupt. Now, this is all hypothetical, but I think there could be a good chance of us seeing some more acquisitions in place for Overstock and strategic decisions to drive Overstock's revenue and market share. So if we go further down now, we can already see that Canada is already in early performance, and it's encouraging to what that can be for the US website coming up soon as well. They've increased the traffic, which is increasing the click-through rate, and that's driving that new customer retention and acquisition of new customers. Their top growth categories, like they said, have been bedding, bath, and kitchen, which ties in nicely with the Bed Bath & Beyond name, which is leading to that lower average order value, as I mentioned. But we're seeing that they're driving that revenue and they're driving that new customer acquisition more importantly. So encouraging signs for the Bed Bath & Beyond name, and there's some real potential already we're seeing. Now let's talk about the US launch which is on track. They're saying that the merchanting and supply chain is improving incredibly. So they've got 80% overlap across brands that drove the majority of that Bed Bath & Beyond revenue. They added 600K, like I mentioned, into the drop shipping fulfillment service so that we can operate that asset-light business model. Then we also have the partner conversion success rate, which has increased 60%, validating further vendors that can come in and deliver their new products to Overstock. We've got the partner contracting timeframe reduced by 50%. So this process is speeding along nicely. Then we move into the marketing stage. We have obviously the co-branding of Bed Bath & Beyond, which is going to slowly transition into Bed Bath & Beyond only. Then we have the customer acquisition efforts. Now, this is going to be through that mobile app download, which they have a very high record Overstock of delivering good mobile growth. Then we have the email database, which Bed Bath & Beyond has over 4 or 5 times the amount of customers that Overstock has. And then we have the reward system, and then also that coupon that Bed Bath & Beyond used to use as well. This will be introduced, but maybe not to the same extent than it was before. And then we move over to the customer experience and the technology. So we're replacing Smooth, which with the launch of the Canada, we want to replicate all of that smoothness in terms of how it went out. Then we need to handle the increased traffic load. So this is all going to be expanded in the scope of delivering a more seamless transition with the US site as well. Then the improvement in SEO with the website and the app search should help the navigation for customers to find their products that they're wanting so that we can deliver further greater customer experience for everyone. It wouldn't be an Overstock video now if I didn't speak about Medici Ventures, because these businesses are inside Overstock and yet they are still yet to be mentioned as much as I personally would like. We've got some fantastic businesses inside, including Tzero, Grain Chain, and other companies like Bit Global, where we just got the updated value of around 66% ownership is what Overstock shareholders own currently. And we can see that the Tzero is a security token trading platform, which needs to be spoken about more because ICE have their CSO as their CEO, which is David Goon, who is executing and is going to potentially come out soon with some massive information. It is a long waiting game with Overstock, but these are the type of businesses which can set Overstock's share price flying in the future. So in summary of Overstock's recent earnings, they were stellar once again. The beats top and bottom line is great and what we like to see, but I think it's just the start. I think with the new acquisition of Bed Bath & Beyond, all the numbers for Wall Street are going to have to be revised up because they're going to get absolutely smashed in Q3 and Q4. I'm expecting big beats in Q3 and Q4 if there is no different analyst in expectations, but I'm expecting that those numbers will be revised up at some point. And when those numbers are revised up, expect the stock price to go up, if you know what I mean. So in further summary, we are delivering on timelines, which is what Jonathan Johnson is delivering, which is great to see. And we can see the Bed Bath is right on track for where it needs to be currently. The transition into the Bed Bath & Beyond name will take some time, but I think we're already starting to see some of it play out with the Canada website. The traffic is absolutely crazy right now. It's about 5, 6, 7 times higher than what the normal Overstock website is. And that will translate into sales, believe me. Then we open up in the America category and marketplace, and we're going to see this being absolutely huge for Overstock. To mention, they also mentioned a potential into Mexico as well. So this could be another different marketplace, which we have yet to touch yet. But again, is another market share driver, which Wayfair and other businesses haven't quite explored that option yet. But Overstock is looking at it with big potential. We've got the huge cash on hand, so great strategic opportunities can come up. We can capitalize on them with that balance sheet. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And make sure to check out my Patreon account if you haven't already. Link is in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.